I woke up to silence, the kind that felt wrong, like the air had been sucked from the room. I rolled out of bed in our parents' old house, the floorboards creaking under my feet. Something felt off. I walked down the hallway past the faded family photos hanging crooked on the walls and stopped at Dad's study. The safe door hung open, empty. My heart dropped into my stomach. I stepped closer, hands shaking as I touched the cold metal. The land deeds, the cash envelopes, Mom's jewelry, everything was gone. I grabbed my phone and called Jessica. She answered on the third ring, her voice light and careless. "What's wrong, little brother?" I could barely breathe. "The safe. Where is everything?" She laughed, not a nervous laugh, a satisfied one. Then the line went dead. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. I drove straight to Mr. Hargrove's office downtown. The lawyer's building smelled like old paper and coffee. I burst through the door without knocking. He looked up from his desk, glasses sliding down his nose. "I need to know what happened to our parents' estate," I said, my voice shaking. He sighed and pulled out a folder. "Your sister came in last week. She sold half the property." The words hit me like a punch. "She what?" He slid papers across the desk. Jessica's signature was on every page. The sale had already closed, $50,000 gone into her account. My hands trembled as I picked up the documents. "Was this legal?" I asked. Mr. Hargrove hesitated. "She had authorization from the estate. At least that's what the paperwork showed." My stomach twisted. Authorization she clearly forged. I spent the next 2 days locked in Dad's study, surrounded by boxes of old documents. Mom's handwriting covered receipts from years ago. Dad's business records sat in neat stacks. And then I found them. Fake receipts with Jessica's signature practice in the margins. A forged power of attorney dated 3 years back. She'd been planning this long before our parents died. I traced the timeline in my notebook. Every family dinner where she volunteered to handle paperwork. Every time she offered to help Dad with finances. She'd been setting this up piece by piece, waiting for the right moment. My chest tightened with rage. This wasn't a sudden betrayal. This was calculated, methodical, and I'd been too blind to see it. The question now was simple. How much more had she already taken? Jessica lived in a modern apartment across town, the kind with a doorman and marble floors. I showed up unannounced, pushing past the lobby security who tried to stop me. I knocked hard on her door. She opened it wearing designer clothes I knew she couldn't afford on her salon income. "What do you want?" she asked, blocking the doorway. "I want the truth," I said. "About the safe, about the property, about everything you stole." She rolled her eyes. "You're being paranoid. The estate was messy." "I cleaned it up. You emptied it." Her smile turned cold. "Prove it." She started to close the door, but I caught it with my hand. "I found the forged documents, Jessica, the fake receipts. I know what you did." For a second her face flickered with something, fear maybe, then she recovered. "Good luck with that," she said and slammed the door in my face. I called Tom that night. We'd grown up together, 3 houses down from each other. Now he worked as a financial analyst downtown. I met him at a quiet coffee shop near his office. I spread the documents across the table between us. He studied them carefully, his eyes narrowing. "These signatures don't match," he said, pointing to 2 different pages. "And look at this. The property sale went through a shell company. That's not normal for a family estate." Hope sparked in my chest. "Can you trace where the money went?" Tom nodded slowly. "It'll take time, but yeah, if she's hiding assets, there'll be a trail." Relief washed over me, but it came with a new weight. This was bigger than I thought. "How long do we have?" I asked. Tom looked up, his expression grim. "Before she moves everything offshore, maybe a week. 2 if we're lucky." 2 days later my phone rang. It was my younger brother calling from college. "Jessica talked to me," he said quietly. "She said you're trying to steal from the estate, that you're making up lies about her." My heart sank. "You can't believe that." He was silent for a long moment. "I don't know what to believe anymore. She showed me bank statements. She said you've been living in the house rent-free for months." "Because I was taking care of Mom and Dad when they were sick," I shot back. "Where was Jessica then?" More silence. "She said you're just jealous because they trusted her more." The words cut deep. Jessica had always been good at this, twisting truth until you couldn't see straight. "Just don't do anything yet," he finally said. Promise me." I hung up feeling more alone than ever. The family I thought I had was fracturing, and Jessica was holding the hammer. I found the letter by accident. It was tucked inside Dad's old Bible, the one he kept on his nightstand. The envelope was yellowed, my name written in his shaky handwriting from his final months. I opened it carefully. "If you're reading this, something's wrong," it began. My throat tightened. Dad's words filled 2 pages. He talked about protecting the family legacy, about how he'd seen Jessica's greed growing over the years. And then at the bottom, one sentence made my breath catch. "There's a second will. Mr. Hargrove has it. Don't let your sister find it first." I read the letter 3 times, my hands shaking. A second will. Something Dad had hidden away, meant to protect me. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Whatever that will contained, it might be the only weapon I had left. Mr. Hargrove's face went pale when I showed him the letter. He stood up from his desk, walked to a cabinet in the corner, and pulled out a locked box. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a sealed envelope marked with Dad's signature and a date from 2 months before he died. "I was instructed not to open this unless certain conditions were met," Mr. Hargrove said slowly. "This letter, it might qualify." He broke the seal. The room felt too small as he read silently, his eyes moving faster across the page. Then he looked up at me, his expression somewhere between shock and relief. "Your father changed everything," he whispered. "What does it say?" I asked. Mr. Hargrove set the document down carefully. "Jessica isn't going to like this, not one bit." My pulse hammered in my ears. "Tell me." He took a deep breath. "We need to schedule a formal reading. Immediately." I couldn't wait for lawyers and formalities. I needed leverage now. I created a fake email account and posted a listing online. Family property for sale, below market value, quick closing. Then I waited. It took less than 6 hours. Jessica responded through a burner number asking detailed questions about the property. She didn't know it was me on the other end. I played along, acting like an interested buyer. She got sloppy, desperate. She offered to sell immediately, even dropping the price when I hesitated. She was trying to move everything fast, which meant she was scared. Scared I'd find something. Scared the truth was closing in. I saved every message, every desperate offer. Tom was right. When pressure mounted, Jessica made mistakes, and I was going to use every single one against her. The trap was set. Now I just needed her to walk into it. Tom called me at midnight. "You need to see this," he said. I met him at his office. His desk was covered in printouts and highlighted documents. "I found the money," he said, "or at least where it's going." He showed me a web of transactions, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell companies registered in Delaware. Jessica had moved Dad's money through 6 different accounts in 2 weeks. "This is beyond simple theft," Tom said. "This is financial fraud, money laundering maybe." The numbers blurred in front of me. $80,000, nearly everything our parents had saved. "Can we freeze the accounts?" I asked. Tom shook his head. "Not without a court order, and that takes time we didn't have." "How far will she go?" I wondered aloud. Tom looked at me seriously. "As far as she needs to. People like this don't stop until they're forced to." Jessica showed up at the house 3 nights later. I heard gravel crunching in the driveway, then heavy footsteps on the porch. She didn't knock. She had a key. I met her in the hallway. "We need to talk," she said, but her voice carried a threat. "I know what you're doing, spreading lies, turning people against me." "I'm telling the truth," I said calmly. She stepped closer. "You take this to court and I'll destroy you. I'll tell everyone you abused Mom and Dad, that you stole from them, that you're unstable." Her eyes were wild, desperate. "I have lawyers, I have documents, you have nothing." I held her gaze. "You sure about that?" Something flickered in her expression, doubt, fear. She turned and walked out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. I stood in the empty hallway, my heart racing. She was panicking, which meant my plan was working. The call came from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Is this about your sister?" a woman's voice asked. I froze. "Who is this?" "Someone who knows what she's been doing. I worked at the title company that processed her property sale. Something wasn't right about it." My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "The signatures, they looked off. And she kept rushing us, paying extra for expedited processing. When someone's that desperate, it's usually for a reason." Can you prove it? I asked. I made copies, she said, before I quit. If you want them, meet me tomorrow, but this stays between us. I agreed, my mind racing. Was this real, or was Jessica setting another trap? Either way, I couldn't ignore it. If this woman had evidence, it could change everything. I wrote down the meeting location and time. Tomorrow would tell me if I could trust her, or if I was walking into an ambush. The envelope arrived by courier. Court documents with Jessica's name across the top. She'd filed a motion claiming sole rights to the entire estate. According to her petition, I'd abandoned our parents, neglected them. She was the only one who cared. I read through page after page of lies. She'd submitted fake witness statements from people I'd never heard of, medical records that didn't match Mom and Dad's actual doctors. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks away. Mr. Hargrove called an hour later. "This is aggressive," he said. "She's trying to close everything before we can respond." "Can she win?" I asked. Silence stretched between us. If the judge only hears her side, maybe. My hands clenched into fists. Jessica wasn't just stealing, she was trying to erase me completely from our family's history. "What do we do?" I asked. Mr. Hargrove's voice hardened. "We fight, and we use that second will." The stakes had just become everything. I found Mom's diary in a box under her bed. The leather cover was worn smooth from years of her hands. I opened it carefully, afraid of what I might find. Her entries were simple at first. Daily routines, grocery lists, doctor appointments. Then I found entries from her final year. "I worry about Jessica," one entry read. "She asks about money constantly. She doesn't visit unless she needs something." My throat tightened. Another entry dated 2 months before Mom died. "We've decided to protect part of the estate, put it in a trust for him. Jessica can't touch it. She'll be angry, but it's the right thing." Tears blurred my vision. Mom had known. She'd seen Jessica's greed and taken steps to stop it. I kept reading, finding more details. Account numbers, property descriptions. A separate deed held in trust. Jessica had no idea this existed, and neither had I until now. Jessica made her biggest mistake at a family gathering I wasn't invited to, but our cousin was there and she was recording. Jessica had too much wine. She got comfortable, started bragging. "He thinks he's so smart," she laughed, her voice slurred. "But I moved everything, offshore accounts, different names. By the time he figures it out, it'll be gone." She described the shell companies, the fake documents, even admitted forging Dad's signature. Our cousin sent me the audio file that night with a simple message. "I'm sorry I didn't see this sooner." I listened to it 3 times, my chest tight with anger and relief. Jessica had confessed to everything, on tape, with witnesses present. I forwarded it to Tom and Mr. Hargrove. This was the evidence we needed. Jessica's arrogance had finally caught up with her, and she had no idea the trap had already sprung shut. Mr. Hargrove spread documents across his conference table. "I found something," he said. "Jessica submitted forged documents to the court, property appraisals that don't match county records, bank statements with altered dates." He pointed to signature comparisons. "These aren't even good forgeries. She got sloppy." Tom had joined us, bringing his financial analysis. Together, they'd built an airtight case. Fraud, forgery, perjury, each charge more serious than the last. "The judge won't like being lied to," Mr. Hargrove said. "And when we present the real will along with your mother's diary and the recording, Jessica won't have anywhere to hide." I stared at the mountain of evidence. Months of pain and anger crystallized into these papers. "Can we win?" I asked. Mr. Hargrove smiled for the first time in weeks. "Win? We're going to destroy her case completely." But doubt still gnawed at me. Jessica always had one more trick, one more lie. Could we really stop her this time? I met Jessica at a park 2 days before the hearing. Neutral ground. She arrived wearing sunglasses, her face tight with stress. We sat on opposite benches. "Last chance," I said. "Return everything, admit what you did. Maybe the judge goes easier on you." She laughed bitterly. "You think you've won, you have no idea what I'm capable of." "I know about the offshore accounts," I said calmly. "The shell companies, the forged documents. I have recordings of you admitting everything." Her face went white. "You're bluffing." I pulled out my phone and played 10 seconds of the audio, her own voice, drunk and careless, describing exactly how she'd stolen from our family. Jessica's hands started shaking. "Where did you get that?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is the judge will hear it. She stood up, stumbling slightly. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. "You can't do this to me," she whispered. "I'm your sister." "You stopped being my sister the day you robbed our parents' memory," I said. She walked away without another word. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, a judge's bench that seemed too tall. Jessica sat at the plaintiff's table with her lawyer, a sharp-dressed man who kept whispering to her. She wouldn't look at me. Mr. Hargrove opened with the forged documents, presented signature analysis, showed the offshore account transfers. Jessica's lawyer objected repeatedly, but the evidence was overwhelming. Then came Mom's diary. Mr. Hargrove read entries aloud, Mom's words filling the silent courtroom. Jessica's face went red. When Tom presented the financial forensics, showing exactly where every dollar went, Jessica's lawyer started sweating. Finally, Mr. Hargrove approached the bench. "Your Honor, there's one more matter. A second will that supersedes all previous estate documents." The judge leaned forward. "Let me see it." The room held its breath as Mr. Hargrove handed over the sealed envelope. The judge read silently, then his eyebrows rose. "This changes everything," he said quietly. Mr. Hargrove began reading the will aloud. Dad's voice seemed to echo through his words. "To my daughter Jessica, I leave $1 and nothing more. Her greed has shown her true character." Jessica gasped. The lawyer started reading faster. "To my son, I leave the house, the land, and all remaining assets held in an irrevocable trust established before my death. He cannot be removed as beneficiary under any circumstances." Jessica shot to her feet. "That's not real. He forged it." The judge's voice cut through the room. "Mrs. Patterson, this will was notarized and witnessed by 3 attorneys. It's completely legitimate." Jessica's face drained of color. She swayed on her feet. "No," she whispered. "No, this can't." Her eyes rolled back. She collapsed, hitting the floor with a heavy thud. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Bailiffs rushed forward. Her lawyer knelt beside her. I sat frozen, watching my sister's final performance. Even unconscious, she was trying to manipulate the room. But this time, nobody was buying it. Jessica woke up in the courthouse medical room 20 minutes later. I stood in the doorway as she sat up, confusion clearing into humiliation. The judge had ruled in my favor, all of it, the house, the land, the remaining money Jessica hadn't managed to steal. Her fraudulent sale was voided. The buyers would get their money back and Jessica would face criminal charges for the forgery. "It's over," I told her. She looked at me with hollow eyes. "I'm your sister." "You were my sister," I corrected. "Now you're just someone I used to know." I drove to the cemetery that evening, stood between Mom and Dad's graves as the sun set. "I protected it," I said quietly. "Everything you built, everything you wanted to keep safe. Jessica can't touch it now." The wind moved through the trees. For the first time in months, I felt peace. Real peace. Not the kind that comes from winning. The kind that comes from honoring the people you loved. My brother called 3 days after the hearing. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have trusted you." "Jessica's good at manipulation," I replied. "She had us all fooled at some point." He was quiet for a moment. "What happens now?" "Now we rebuild," I said, "the way Mom and Dad would have wanted." Slowly, other family members reached out. Cousins who'd heard Jessica's lies started asking questions. Aunts and uncles who'd taken her side began to see the truth. The family wasn't fixed. Trust doesn't heal that quickly, but conversations started happening, real ones. Tom helped me set up a family foundation using part of the inheritance, something to honor our parents' memory, something Jessica could never claim she built. At Thanksgiving, my brother came home. We ate dinner in the old house, just the 2 of us. It was quiet, but it was honest, and that felt like a beginning. I stood in the doorway of the house 6 months later. Fresh paint covered the walls. New furniture replaced the pieces Jessica had sold. The safe in Dad's study was locked again, holding documents that actually mattered this time. Jessica faced criminal charges. Her lawyer worked on a plea deal. She'd lost everything she'd stolen, plus her reputation. Some family members still talked to her. I wasn't one of them. I walked through each room, remembering Mom's laugh in the kitchen, Dad's terrible jokes in the living room, the life they'd built here. This house wasn't just wood and walls anymore. It was proof that good people's legacies survive even when someone tries to destroy them. I locked the door behind me, the key heavy in my hand. Justice hadn't been loud or dramatic. It had been quiet, steady, inevitable. And standing there in the driveway, looking back at the home I'd fought to protect, I finally understood what Dad meant in his letter. Family isn't about blood. It's about honor, and I'd honored them completely. If this story feels familiar, share where you're reading from. And if you've ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours, tell your story below. You're not alone. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.